I think you'll agree with me that it's quite an uncomfortable watch. So I wanted to ask just a question, just like more from a British perspective or British audience perspective, because in the film you insist a lot on the support, the critical, the political, intellectual, financial support that Matzneff gets from certain group of well-established people in Paris. And I was wondering if, for people here, you could explain how it was possible for him to be seen with Vanessa Springora, but also with many other young girls in public. How could he be celebrated like that for so many years, for writing about it as well? And how could he be invited on mainstream primetime TV shows and even receiving a major literary award in 2013, so very recently? And publicly, there's only really this one writer, Denise Bombardier, who said something, but were there other people? Was there anybody else?
But it's still very hard for me and for people of my generation to understand how it was possible in that period, in the 80s in France, to hear or to read all these authors who were, in a way, promoting their pedocriminality, and how at this time it was indeed nearly well seen to be so transgressive, de prôner to reach. Thank you very much. To preach, to preach this kind of freedom. But you know, I was really shocked and moved when I met some victims who are today about 50 years old, and one of them let me know that when she was about 8 years old, she was incested. That incesté, comme ça. Elle subissait un inceste.
She was a victim of incest.
She was victim of incest, and she was reminding the day she was watching that TV show Apostrophe, who was very, very famous in France at this time, and when she heard Matzneff and Bernard Pivot and all the other guests, she told herself, okay, so what I'm living, what I'm going through is not shocking anyone, so I am guilty in a way, and it must be not such a matter. And because of our society at this time, we let such criminals being on TV show, and we probably also encouraged other predators to act this way. And now when I hear those victims, we just went to that destroyed life for years and years, and with this very, very deep feeling of guiltiness through them, I was like, yes, really so shocked. But when I've been adapting the script, I've been also consulting a psychological doctor. Oui, un docteur en psychologie. Okay, and we was teaching in universities, and we was using the writings of Matzneff to make his students understand how morality was changing 10 years after 10 years. And he told me that sentence, which was for me very, very, very important, which stayed in my mind forever, that a predator could not exist without complicity, complices, volunteers or involunteers. And this movie, to me, had also that purpose to show how our society was complice And that was important, very important for me.
Yeah, the TV show you see in the film, it is apostrophe, isn't it? It was on Friday night, prime time for like 20 years. I have a question about, like, the film and the book are called Consent, but it's also about much more than what many people see as consent. And there is one sentence in Springora's book that I found really important. She says, in French, comment admettre qu'on a été abusé quand on ne peut pas nier avoir été consentant? So how can you admit you've been abused when you cannot deny that you've given your consent? There's an expression that is, for me, central to what the film is about and the book. It's this relation d'emprise, which does not translate so easily into English, but basically it means it's about both taking control of someone, almost steal their identity, gaslight them, and also leave a mark or an imprint. And in French, emprise comes from both empire, and imprint. So it bears this double meaning, and I thought the film really very much reflects this notion, and I find it particularly visible in your choice of mise en scène, like showing the spaces, even outdoor spaces, is totally enclosed and suffocating. It gives a sense of entrapment and isolation. I was wondering how you made that specific choice. How did you choose to shoot the places and give this atmosphere?
Well, I think that since the writing, it was already very present for me. That intention first was to follow a point of view without never losing her. But it was mostly to make the emotions of my lead character, in fact, lead all the movements of the direction, of the staging, of the way I will film those scenes. I really wanted to understand how she was possessed in a way by this man, how she was under his influence. But it's interesting when you repeat the sentence from Vanessa from a book, because what was very difficult in the direction and of this movie was to make us and make the audience understand how, from a point of view at the beginning, she was thinking it was love. She was like loving him. And we had to make it appear in the movie, to really film him through her eyes and to make then being understandable how his influence was, huge on her. And that was really difficult because I had to come back through her eyes and through that feeling, and to make sensitive how she was not, she was confusing love and sexuality, because she was obviously not at an age she could understand that, and how he was taking that, he was stealing that, and he was manipulating her from the beginning to the end.
Yeah, because also I was wondering, because he's put her in several novels, and he's published journals with her name in it, and where she is entrapped also in his stories. So I was wondering if for you really wanted to you had to make an effort to get away from that, to be far from the way he talked about her, or.
But the thing, because when I read the book of Vanessa first, I was like so moved and so shocked. But then to work on the script, I had to read all the novels of Gabriel Matzneff, and was what made me sick is, to me, that was like a public rape, she was going through. And so yes, indeed, I had to fit the character by, his way of speaking, his way of writing, his way of seeing life, because he's still alive. So I had to be really close to to the way he wanted to appear in society, because I had to treat him that way. But I really, it was not, I was then, I think that on the shooting, and then I was like, it's very hard to explain, but I really needed to go back to her vulnerability. That was the point.
Yeah, I was wondering if at this stage anybody has any remark or question. Yeah, there is one question.
I'm sorry for my English. I really try to be clear, but.
Bonsoir, good evening. C'est ma première fois où je vois.
Sorry, do you mind speaking in English?
Sure. Good evening. It's my first time seeing this interpretation of this common trope of this egregious age gap, where it's quite predatory, but taken in cinema through the lens of a female director, and I found it extremely moving and very different from other interpretations. And especially, I noticed a few references to L'Amant, The Lover, by the film from the Duras novel, which, for example, if you take Lolita, whether it's Kubrick or the 1992 version or L'Amant, they're all very romanticized and they're very visually beautiful, and they don't have this sort of reality. And I love the way you sort of reference them in certain scenes, but you put them through the lens where it's not romanticized and it's actually brutally honest. And I found that very powerful, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think there was another. There was someone else. Yes, just.
Hello, thank you. Congratulations, it was amazing.
Thank you.
Just a question, did you ask all the actors to read the novel before reading your script and before directing them?
Well, I didn't have to ask them. They had read it anyway. And for the story, when I met the actor Jean-Paul, you know, in France he's a very, very famous actor, but mostly known for comedies. And so when my casting director called his agent, she said, we have a proposition, but we think he's not going to want it. And the agent said, no, I think he's not going to want it. But then she called him, and he said, I read the book, and I love that book. It's really necessary, so I want to meet the director tomorrow. And that was done.
And there was one more question, yeah, on the end.
Thank you. The movie was amazing. My question is, in the movie, this character, Yuri, so I was a bit confused because when I think he was the kind of the babysitter overnight, and first I was really expecting that he would kind of notice what's going on and, you know, be a helping person, but after that, yeah, I'm a bit confused about his character in the movie, so I was just curious what his role is, because I've never read the book or seen the movie before.
Well, it's. I have to say you're not the first person to ask me that, or to be just a kind of confused. But I think that, to me, it's a very, very important character, and is someone really good, and someone she was really needing in her life, and we gave her more confidence. But the thing is that it was very important for me to show how, after such a relation with a predator and someone she's been, you know, under manipulation for such a long time, how he destroyed the way she was perceiving herself, and to treat, I don't know the word in English, l'empreinte. The imprint, and that scene, for instance, the sexual scene, you know, between the two of them, which was really mattered to me, like she explains it in a book, to do how she was confusing what the man wants, what do I have to do. She was like nearly feeling like a doll who must satisfy a man, and how she must satisfy a man because she's been initiated that way, and she only has that sexual education from the predator. And in fact, in that scene, you know, she is a bit like surprised. He doesn't want to hurt her. It's not at all like Gabriel Matzneff. He asks her, and she does know. She's not showing a real face at this moment, but what was really important for me was to really treat the imprint and to try to understand how after such a relation it's hard to reconstruct yourself and to know exactly who you are, and not to live through other eyes, you know. So the complexity of that scene to me was really, really important to treat.
There's a question. Just here.
Thank you very much for your film, and I wanted to have your advice, your point of view about the role of the mother. I think that the relationship between the young girl and her mother are very ambiguous, and you show it with changes in her attitude towards the predator, towards Matzneff. It's very interesting. Can you tell us a bit more about how you feel this connection and the way you treated it?
Well, first of all, it was one of my main intention. When I first talked with Vanessa Springora, the author, I told her that I wanted to develop more the character of the mother than she had done in a book, because I was really shocked when the book was out in France. The mother has been a lot, criticized a lot. But no one said anything about a father who is not there. And when you read the book, we can see how violent and missing he was, and how he created, dependence in the young girl, and so I was shocked about that. And when I read the book, I thought it was really more complex, and it was like I could feel how she was fragile too. And you have to know something that, like every predator, Gabriel Matzneff has a kind of modus operandi. And so he was always choosing very young girls, fond of literature, obviously, but living alone with their mothers. Mostly one or two, different, cases, but it was really his way to choose his proie. Praise. I'm going to revise. Okay, sorry. But with emotions, it's very difficult. And so in one of his book, he explains it, very well. Like, this is the way I do. So, and also to first seduce the mothers to have the daughters. So it's exactly what he's doing. But I wanted that the audience, after the movie, keep on questioning themselves on what what would you have done, you know, in such a story, in front also of a young teenager, who, when she says, if you make me stop to see him, I will kill myself, I think that a mother was believing her. I'm not trying to excuse the mother, I'm not trying to take off from her a kind of responsibility in what's happened, but I just, to me, it's necessary to try to understand really what happened and how complex sometimes it can be. And I was also wondering when I read the book if, in a way, in front of such a predator, she was not, in a way, became a kind of collateral victim. But and it's also, I met a lot of mothers whose daughters or sons sometimes had been under influence, and the way it was sometimes hard to stop them, fearing they could lose every control on them. So I heard also all those complex stories, and I wanted the movie to be, you know, as complex as reality is sometimes.
Why did you decide to, because the father, I mean, the father figure, the father is a bit more present in the book. I mean, he doesn't, you know, he's quite a negative presence, but you decided not to have him at all.
Yeah, it was a very very difficult decision, but the book is treating all the childhood of Vanessa, and me, I'm really starting at the age of 13 years old, when the father is already, you know, not living with them. And in the book, she's saying that at once he comes back to the hospital when comment on dit, c'est dirty, c'est très compliqué, urticarious, what she's suffering in the story. And I thought that finally to really understand how she was missing him, that not to have him at all was making writing even more the way that she was missing him in his life, and how it could have been good, I mean better, if he had been there, and maybe he could have stopped that situation. Or maybe, I think that Matzneff was also taking this part, you know, of the missing dad, and he knew exactly how to feed exactly that miss in his praise. So I thought that it was telling even more the reality of that story, not showing him.
Does anybody else have a remark or a question? There are two people here. I think you need the microphone, if you don't mind.
Hello. I just want to know what was, when Vanessa Springora saw the movie, what was her reaction? Did she feel that it was like really part of herself, or it was a rewriting of her story? Because of course, between the words and between the pictures, the everything, it might be a bit different, of course. So I wanted to see if she was, how was her value.
Yes, I understand.
It's more easy for me as well in French.
She was obviously very moved, and we can imagine how complex it must be to watch, you know, your life in a movie, but she made to me the most beautiful compliment. She said that all was juste. That what is a translation of juste? It's not real. It's just right, but not right like real. You know, juste is more like fair.
No, not fair.
No, not fair.
Yeah, accurate, maybe.
Accurate?
It's different words.
Okay, so we'll say juste, like, you know, with give me. And the fact is that she really even followed the promotion of the movie. She was really there, and we became very close with Vanessa. And you have to know that it was not. It was. I mean, when she accepted me to make the adaptation, she really, to her, it was really important for me to feel free and, you know, and to reappropriate, you know, the story. But I really wanted to share even more with her, and that was for me very important. And I told her I want to be the most, to be the closest possible to your truth, and I don't see it like a problem because I really want to be trustful to your truth, and because you gave something so intimate and so strong, and I didn't want to betray her like this man had done through his book for so many years. I mean, it transformed her in a character of fiction. And to me, I wanted to, you know, to reinstore also, to say the truth she's been fighting for so many years to make appear. And so we shared a lot during the writing, and that's why at the end of the credits, I credit her like an artistic collaborator, because it was important for me to put those words, and so she really has been very, very there and present through all the promotions, and she met Kim. This is when you watch the movie with, I know how uncomfortable it is, and it's a hard movie because it's a hard story. But behind, there are also beautiful stories like this one.
I think you could translate juste as true in that context.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. There was another question just behind, sorry.
Thank you so much. Really, really powerful. I'm just trying to understand the legal context in that time and how things have shifted since. Because I was surprised how open it was.
Can you repeat that? Oh, there's something you have, very, very important thing. You have to know it that the book of Vanessa in France made the law evaluate. And now the age of consent is 15. And even the notion of le consentement, and we say in France, la loi du consentement, is really like recent and new. And it's also thanks to the book of Vanessa, who's used like a kind of juridical tool. Thank you, I've got that voice, you know, talking in my head. That. Like a juridical tool, and to make things evaluate. And there's also another book, have you heard about La Familia Grande, Camille Kouchner? And we met La Civis, being created. la CIVIS, qui est une commission, comment on peut dire, c'est compliqué, commission for sexual abuses and toward children, and was really fighting a lot for to make the things move. Thank you.
It was, yeah. The microphone is just there.
Thank you. Hi, thank you so much for that. That was so beautiful. I was wondering, when reading the book, were there any, or just like looking over it when you created the film, were there any moments that you found especially hard to translate to the screen? And how did you go about that?
I mean, everything was hard in a way because, you know, you're making a movie, but you can't really take distance because you know that you're treating a true story. So I think those last 4 years have been, you know, very intense, but you tell yourself that there's no real place possible for fears because you've got such an admiration toward the braveness of the author, and in front of all those victims who fight to make their voice be heard, and we are so brave, and we stay so. We've got so much dignity too that you feel like you're au service d'une histoire. Service
of a story.
Service of the story. So that was the point. You know, you have to stay. You know that it's more important to do the thing that to listen to. Sometimes you're.
But still, there are some bits of the film, like the beginning, where you follow the story in a more linear way, and other bits where it's much more poetic in a way, like, you know, when she's in the bathroom and you have the Filipino kids, and also all the bits about her mental health and her mental states. So you did make choices about how you would interpret one scene or another.
Si j'ai fait des choix.
Ouais, comment est-ce que tu les as fait, ces choix?
But I think that telling myself, I mean, feeling how it was important to always be led by emotions, it was obviously having an impact on all the movement of the direction. I mean that even that rhythm at the beginning, the time he installs, you know, this question of time to comment on pourrait dire, to make the love story being created, and then progressively is in a way is stealing alors son libre arbitre, je sais pas comment dire. Exactly what I was gonna say. And but so even the rhythm, I wanted to even follow the rhythm of her own art in a way, like if it was progressively by manipulating her, making a point of view, being like, you know, like if you see the world shorter and shorter and shorter because you're under control and under influence, so even your field is becoming tighter, and by the way, it's very hard for her to have distance between the reality and the reality of her feeling, and all the way she's lost, you know, in her mind. And so I wanted the image to translate that progressively, and because she's losing, in a way, all the controls of her own life. And so That's why I really wanted even the colors, because if you see technically, we used like very old optics, you know, and sometimes at the beginning it was Cook's optics from the 70s, and there's a kind of flares, you know, and I said to my DP, those flares can only belong to the first part of the movie because it's becoming more and more and more and more brutal, and the reality is taking, you know, it's very very hard to comment dire ça, mince, c'est compliqué en anglais. In a way, she's losing contact with her own reality, and in a way, reality comes harder and harder to her. So that complexity had to be treated in the movie. I don't know if I am clear. I'm doing my best, but okay.
Is there one last
Excellent.
question or remark? Yes, there is one person.
You talk about complicity at the beginning. How do you feel now about the fact that this man is still free? What does Vanessa expect? What should be their punishment? These predators, like, how does she feel about them? Like, should they be in prison? Should they be? I know he doesn't write anymore, of course.
No, he does write. He does write another
yeah.
book about her.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
Sorry,
when a novel been out, he wrote a novel called Le Vanessa Virus,
okay.
just
Sorry.
after the coronavirus, obviously, and to make him appear again like a victim, and saying that he will never forget her, but she ruined all his life. And so, yes, he kept on writing a bit, which was not, I mean, he didn't find any editors in France, so he's been like doing it in an independent way. But
He's been self-publishing.
self-published.
Yeah.
But your question was what Vanessa is expecting?
You know, how should they be punished? Like, how do we not stop it, because that's society, but we're very complicit now, because this guy is still writing, he's still speaking.
Now, there's something she says in a book which is very important. She says, you know, by the end, that if only those books... What?
It's only if other girls see it, they will try to come out of it. Is that what she's expecting?
Je suis pas sûre de bien comprendre.
Is she trying to show other young girls what she went through, and if they are in the same boat, they should try to come out of it? Is that what she's trying to do?
It's very hard for me to answer and the place of Vanessa. But what I can tell you is that, you know, in France, when the movie was out, there are a lot of young girls, young teenagers who went to watch that movie. And we were really so engaged, I mean, understanding the notion of what is to consent. And we are fighting against that society and the deny which is still existing. And with Vanessa, we were telling ourselves that we would have dreamed that you know, all this young generation can reach that movie in the way that they could maybe be prevented, indeed, and to understand really what means, we'll say that word, emprise, we didn't really manage to translate, and how this movie could also, you know, help victims maybe to find back confidence in themselves, which is very hard. So I could only answer you about that, and then it's becoming to, you know, Sir words.
I just want to add that it's young girls who. The film became a phenomenon in France because young girls took hold of it and they started a big TikTok campaign. So over 600,000 people saw the film in France, which is huge. I think we have to finish here. Thank you so much, Vanessa. Thank you for the film.
Thank you
everybody.
very much. Thank you. And thank you for your patience for my English.
And the film is showing again on the 15th next week. So tell your friends because we want to have 600,000 people as well.
Et merci l'Institut français de Londres.
Merci.